What's up, everyone? Welcome to my corner of the internet. I'm your host, Ryan Cramer, and this is Crossover Commerce, presented by PingPong Payments, the leading global payments provider helping sellers keep more of their hard-earned money. Hey everyone, welcome back to another week of Crossover Commerce. My name is Ryan Cramer, and this is my corner of the internet, as my amazing introduction said. We talk about the best and brightest minds in the Amazon and e-commerce space, and we want to make sure that you, the listener, who are joining us for the first time or maybe for the 137th episode, which is what we're at already. If you have questions or any thoughts on our topic matter, we want to make sure you get those answered today. So of course, this is, if you're watching this live or listening to this live, definitely give us a shout and let us know what questions you might have about our topic, which today will be about sourcing and selling in Mexico. Super fascinating topic because a lot of people are looking at the traditional model of selling on Amazon, but it might not be cost effective, right? We might be looking at container costs going up 4, if not 6 times. We're talking about just time your goods are sitting on the water and they can't get into port. Well, that might not be happening in other countries or coming from other countries. For example, Mexico, which we'll be talking about today. We talked a little bit about that a couple of episodes ago, but we're going to be diving into more about that with sellers who are experienced in selling from Mexico and selling in Mexico, but also just working with suppliers and manufacturers in Mexico. Our guest today is actually Patricio Tellez of Algo Más. Patricio is actually an Amazon seller, investor, and co-founder with them. He has been selling since 2014, so has been around the block for a long time in the sense of selling on e-commerce, but selling specifically in multi-channels like in Mexico, and has sold and launched multi-million-dollar e-commerce businesses. And today, his expertise actually helps other sellers expand internationally to the likes of Mexico, which we'll be diving into today. So, of course, want to go ahead and not dabble on any longer. Want to welcome to Crossover Commerce, Patricio of Algo Más. Patricio, welcome, and thanks for coming to the show.
Hey, Ryan. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, no problem. So you've been around, you work with Algo Más, which I almost want to say is where the company itself works somewhat under the radar, but works in all these different venues, both in retail and online. What's kind of that story, if you will? Like, who is Patricio? If people are listening to this or watching this and they don't know who you are or where you come from, you're in Ohio, but you talk specifically about international marketplaces. So what's that story like of you and the business?
So yeah, like you said, I'm actually originally from Mexico. So I grew up in Cancun, by the beach. So everybody's like, when I tell them I'm like in Cleveland, you can ask why. How did I end up here? And but yeah, I've been living in the US for 10 years now, and came here for a completely different reason, for a different business, and ended up doing selling stuff on the internet, and found Amazon, right? And like so many other people, I got started with I got started on it as just as a side business, trying to see what it was all about, and ended up growing really fast and becoming our main thing. So we me along with my wife, we've been doing this for a good while now, and really getting started and growing our initial business really got us into other opportunities in the Amazon space. We got started like many other people with arbitrage, and then jumped to wholesale, and then launched our own brands, and then we started helping with being from Mexico. My whole family is in Mexico, and companies and people started getting in touch with us, wanting us to help them launch their products or get started on Amazon. So that's how we started our consulting business first for companies, and then we figured, well, like this thing that we found out really by accident, but it has really changed our lives. This is something that can help a lot of people. So we focused on our market, which is the Latino market, and helping companies launch in the US from Mexico. So that's how we got started, and it's really taken us really so far and to places that we never thought of. So it's been quite a ride.
That's amazing. Well, so that's fascinating because a lot of people think about sellers in the United States expanding internationally, but you're taking it from a different perspective of a different country, which is actually not too far away. Clearly, a neighbor to our south. What's the percentage? I'm very curious. I don't have the statistics off the bat. What's the statistics of either Latin America or Mexico sellers selling into the United States? Do you know that by chance? Is there a breakdown, or is it
So
a
so honestly,
majority,
like,
or?
no, I don't know the numbers, but there aren't many really. And the thing is, uh, you have to imagine for any traditional business in Mexico, getting into the U.S. market. If you're not a medium big sized company, like getting into the U.S. market and finding um, sales channels and connecting with buyers, right? The traditional route would be like very expensive, right? Logistics, and just getting into a shelf space here. So for companies in the U.S. and for people in general, they think of like getting into the U.S. market as like this huge task, and you're gonna need a huge investment, and it's gonna which it used to be, right? And so there aren't that many sellers. Of course, there are, but I think that's one of the things that we're trying to change and say, hey, like there's a big opportunity here. There's a lot of value that you can offer being from Mexico. If you're a manufacturer, right, you can find a market willing to test products. Just being so close makes it uh, really easy to get your products here. So, but I'm gonna say one thing, just because being from outside the country, right? It's like a not so traditional approach that we took. Right, we're from Mexico. We were here doing something, nothing related to e-commerce, and just I think getting to into the Amazon space in particular, with this different vision from that being from another country gives us, right? We know certain types of products, certain types of manufacturers. We thought of sourcing in Mexico, right? I'm from there. It's easy for us, or easier to find manufacturers there. So we didn't really follow the traditional route of going to Alibaba, finding suppliers, bringing your 40-foot containers. Right now with the logistics, it's crazy. But even back then, for us, like, it was crazy for me to think of going to China and bringing products when I have like a 10 minutes from the southern border. I have tens of factories that can manufacture products, right? So that gave us, I think, an advantage when thinking about certain products and the business model that we wanted to follow. Just it was a easier approach, I think, for us getting started, and to grow. It gave us a lot of opportunities.
Well, that mentality and that story is what makes e-commerce and just entrepreneurship very fascinating to me. And on the show, I think getting the vantage point correct, you were coming at it from someone who grew up in this locale, but then why would I go to another country when I know for a fact that they can do it quicker, or they might be able to produce the same quality when I know it's more comfortable with me. And a lot of same points a lot of sellers bring up is it's also very easy to work with Mexican sourcing suppliers because they're in very similar time zones, which I never thought about. Instead of in the middle of the night, you might be reaching out to people asleep or whatnot. But
Yep.
so what I guess starting out from there, that it wasn't a question in your mind. Did that kind of shape the product that you wanted to sell as a third party seller, or did it really affect you in any sort of way of capability or what product you were or service you might go into?
So I'm gonna say that when we started, let's say when we launched our first couple of products, we did the same thing as everybody. Just looking at YouTube and seeing what was out there. We brought products from China. We used Alibaba, same thing, and we faced the same problems that everybody does in the first couple of shipments when you don't know what you're doing. So after the second shipment came here, we're like, well, like, this too hard, takes too long, just gets our money strapped for months there, right? So why, like, we have Mexico, that we know and we could be sourcing from. So when we started, I really had a product in mind, just knowing the market. But that doesn't mean that you need to know Mexico, to know the like manufacturing landscape to choose a product. You can, I mean, you can almost go to Mexico and find any product you want. There's going to be a big difference to China, of course. Like, right, Mexico doesn't have the manufacturing capacity that China has. So there's going to be differences, and you gotta know that entering into the Mexican market. But to me there were a lot more benefits or advantages to dealing with Mexico. Like you just said, like most of Mexico is on central time zone, so you're on the same time zone. The western part, Baja and Los Cabos, is in Pacific time zone, but all the rest is central. So you're on the same time zone. Most managerial positions in Mexican companies, most people speak English. It's a necessity, right? So you'll be able to communicate. If they don't speak Spanish, if they don't speak great English, they'll definitely be able to write. So you can send them an email. So it's easier to communicate. You're in the same time zone. If you ever need to go and visit the factory or go, you can fly from Atlanta, and it's a 2 hour and a half flight to Mexico City, right? So it's very easy to communicate with them. And Mexico, many people forget Mexico. It's an industrial economy. So we're we're probably the second trading partner with the U.S. because not everything, many things get manufactured in Mexico, especially for bigger companies. So there is there is very qualified labor force in Mexico. There's a lot of manufacturing companies that are not at capacity, so they can accommodate new customers, and anybody coming from the U.S. Is going to be received with open arms, because for Mexican companies, especially right now, being able to get a client and be on the U.S. market is great for them, right? So I think there's a lot more benefits to considering Mexico than there is not.
Yeah, I think that a lot of sellers are becoming smarter. I'm not saying that China's ecosystem, it's easier to go into it. I would think because it's established. There was before a lot of either lockdown or just like this backlog of all these goods coming from one locale. It's very very tough to, as a seller, in my mind, I would think that you would need to look at that and see all those containers that are sitting in the water in the port and not unloaded, and knowing that the one commodity that everyone has a level playing field is time. Now, time, I think, is becoming the most valuable asset instead of course, currency is going up for every container. But when my goods are sitting on the water, that doesn't make me any money. That's money out of my pocket. It's literally not being sold. It's not in an FBA warehouse. It's not in my third-party warehouse. It's not being sold. So are we starting to see the shift of other opportunities out there as like a second and third option, or do you see this actual major wave starting to move towards quicker turnaround times? It's an easy trading partner, like you said, because of where we're located, and then also you don't have to worry about a boat. You can, I mean, it's on a truck for most of these things, right? It's a little bit easier to get to, and no matter where you are, it can get there in no time at all. You don't have to fly halfway around the world to go check out the warehouse. You can connect with them on the time zone. A lot of these things are pros. So why isn't more people doing it?
And let me say, I think for many people, especially FBA sellers, I think Mexico is gonna become a first option, because there's many things like to consider, right? So with all this going on, let's set the chain supply nightmare aside, right? So it's like super expensive. If you work, so 20 food containers are now out of the question, right? You don't even consider it because it's so expensive, right? You're bringing 40-foot containers. So just consider that just from a cash flow and a flexibility standpoint, right? You're bringing product from China, so you might be just trying to figure out what are you going to put in that container, right? In many cases, you have your one, two, maybe three asins that are great, but you still need to fill that up, that container. And so you're bringing products that you might not, if you had the chance, you might not be bringing so many, right? You might have two variations that are the best, and then you have to bring other four colors to fill that out. So just from a cash flow perspective, just the fact that being in Mexico, you don't need to bring a 40-foot container. You can bring a truck, right, and bring a lot less inventory, and you can be sending weekly shipments to the U.S. from Mexico. So you have the flexibility to just be optimize your inventory that you're bringing in, and then you don't have, like, for months, you don't have the your money tied up in the logistics. So it just makes it a lot easier. So even though, so right now, with the cost of shipments, everything that's going on, even labor in China, it's gonna be inevitable that doesn't go up. So with those factors and how the market is right now, I think Mexico is very competitive with price against China. And then if you add up all these things that are actually in the end is add up to your bottom line, right? You have less smaller MOQs. You can be sending more regular shipments. You can be bringing less products, right, to optimize your inventory. So those things, I think, when you consider them all, yeah, if you see a price, if you see manufacturers are not going to beat the Chinese manufacturers in price, it's impossible, right? It's that's not where Mexico is competitive. But when you add everything up, it really makes you consider if Mexico is a better option. And then I would add one more thing. When you consider that you can have a closer and stronger relationship with your manufacturers, and that means you can do things that would be a lot harder in China, or it would require a lot more money. And you can do customizations to your product. You can find better quality materials and have a differentiated product that maybe you can sell for more, right? Increase your selling price, and increase your margins with offering a better product and easier relationship with your manufacturer. So if you see it from that with that from that perspective, I think Mexico makes a lot of sense for FBA sellers. If your strategy is to build a brand, to offer better products, and to increase your margins, and just don't not be up at night at 3 a.m. Dealing with somebody in China. If something goes wrong, it's going to be a lot harder to solve if you're dealing with somebody in China than in Mexico. So for all those reasons, I think Mexico has to make sense for a lot of people watching this.
Yeah, it's checking my boxes in my mind. I'm not seeing any negatives. What would be those negatives, if you will? Like, there has to be a reason people shy away from Mexico. What would those be?
So the negatives are definitely doing business in Mexico is not as easy as in the US, as you can imagine. So the first thing that is complicated in Mexico is that the regulations locally are a lot more strict in many ways in customs than they are here in the US. Everything takes longer just to set up a company, get your permits and customs product classification. Everything just takes longer. So you need to have somebody in Mexico that knows how to navigate those waters, because it's gonna be definitely more complicated, more expensive than it is here in the US. But the main thing I'm gonna say is there is no Alibaba, there is no organized directory of manufacturers in Mexico that you can just look online and find 1,000 manufacturers. That doesn't exist. Actually, the one government agency that was in charge of doing that, our new president, or he got in last year. The first thing he did was to shut down that agency. Doesn't make any sense. It was the agency in charge of promoting Mexican businesses. They shut it down, and then now it doesn't exist. So there's no centralized database of manufacturers. So you need to. It's really, we go on a case by case basis. This is something that we can help. Look at the product, and we'll help you find a manufacturer in Mexico. but that's not as easy as it is in China. There's no Alibaba, so that's a that's a
Right.
big one. And then on the other hand, when talking to manufacturers, because many of the manufacturers are smaller than in China, many times they'll have uh, problems with accommodating your production capacity. They have a limited capacity, so they might they might not be able to accommodate your production same amount every month. So you need to really develop a relationship with them to understand what their capacity is, what it is they can and they can do, because they all say, yeah, I can do that, right? I'll get you that material, I'll get you that quantity, but things come up in dealing with them, and you have to just be proactive in talking to them, and knowing in advance that they can do what they are saying they're going to do. But basically, so that's I think the biggest problem with working with the Mexican manufacturers. Just you don't have the same let's say stability as you would with a Chinese manufacturer in many cases.
Right.
But it helps that we're close and you can be in contact with them.
So there's no way to find like if I'm looking for some sort of like raw materials manufacturer or anything like that, I can't. There's no equivalency to an Alibaba that exists in a foreign country like Mexico in this case that you can just look up and say, this is what I want. I want them to be around for a long time. So where's that trust come in? Like, are people building that out? How do you find reputable manufacturers to work with if that's the case?
So there are so the Mexican embassy here in the U.S. has a economic promotion office, and you can contact them, or you can contact the U.S. embassy in Mexico, and they'll point you to the right direction. There is no centralized database. We're working in doing exactly that. Right now, we do it manually. We work with brands to help them find manufacturers in Mexico. That's one of the things that we do at Algo Más. It really works on a case by case basis. We're working on a project that we're probably going to launch later this year. But right now, it's all done manually. You can always go online and look up and look up manufacturers and suppliers of these types of products, but you'll need to then well, talk to them. But I would suggest to go to Mexico and visit with them, or have somebody in Mexico to deal with them in your behalf. That's one of the things that we do as well. But right now, so if you're right now with your product, and you want to look for products, I'd say Google is your friend, of course, but also contact the Mexican embassy, Mexican embassy where you are, and they'll guide you through the process of finding suppliers, because in Mexico it's done on a state level. So you go to the state's chamber of industry chamber, and they'll have those contacts. In many cases, those lists are not even updated now with COVID. Many companies
Right.
closed, shut down. Many companies were acquired. So we found, right. So this is something that we do almost every day. So we found that not even the government's databases are updated. So it definitely helps to have somebody in Mexico that can help you through this whole process.
Interesting. So I'm fascinated by the culture in Mexico and what means most to them, right? So like here in the United States, like you'll get like a segment of people who are like, I need it manufactured and sold in the United States. We're kind of like shifting. We're talking about sourcing, but also manufacturing and selling in Mexico. So if we're shifting to the selling in Mexico side, does the Mexican customer do they care about where a product is made or what it is, or is it just quality, or is it just price? Like what's the customer avatar, if you will, of a customer if I'm looking to potentially start selling in Mexico?
Yeah, and this is a very interesting point, because for the in the Mexican culture, and you can imagine being so close to the U.S., right? Many like a big part of our modern culture has been formed by U.S. media, U.S. brands, right? U.S. consumption habits. So in that way, the Mexican consumers follow along very closely to what happens here in the U.S. So we used to say that before all this, before Amazon, before the online explosion, it used to be that U.S. The Mexican market was lagging maybe 5 years from the U.S. Right? So you could be here, see what's working, and take it to Mexico in a couple of years. It will be a big success. Right now,
it's just a 5-year delay trend.
Yeah, right now it's probably more like a 2 year, and it's shrinking all the time. But that's, I think, the biggest advantage for U.S. sellers. If you have a product that is working in the U.S., right, you can, like, literally, you can do it now. Go to the best sellers in the US, look them up in Amazon.com.mx, and what you will see is that you'll probably find the first half of the first page of the first page results might be some prime sellers, some FBA sellers, and local offers. But all the rest on that first page of a bestseller, you're gonna start seeing a lot of international listings, right? So many of you might be already selling in Mexico through NARF, right? So you can create your international listings, and you're selling in Mexico. So what most people don't know is when a Mexican buyer goes to Amazon, finds a product, and it has it's an international listing because it's coming straight from an FBA warehouse here in the US. So the product is going to be a lot more expensive just because it has to go through customs, shipping, has to be imported and delivered to customer's door. The product is going to take, it can take anything anywhere from 6 days to a couple of weeks, and it's going to cost a lot more. So when you see a very popular product in the US that has many international listings, offers, that's a great indication that is a popular product. And if you have a local FBA offer, then it would sell a lot better than international listings. So
you're saying, so FBA matters a lot to the Mexican market, right? To get there quickly, effectively, but even for price reasons.
Yeah, exactly.
Both consumer-wise and seller-wise, that matters.
So Amazon Mexico says same as here, right? They say most of the sales in Amazon are FBA, right? So that's what they say. I don't think so. I don't think the data shows that it's not 85%. It's probably less than that, towards the 70s, 65. It's growing very fast, so it will be there. So FBA is important for the same reason it is here, right? A lot of people pay their Prime membership. They expect a fast shipping, but also it's important because it's actually, it costs less, right? It's not, in many cases, the import makes it just not reasonable, because there are other websites that compete with Amazon in Mexico. There's actually Mercado Libre is actually the largest marketplace in Mexico. So there are alternatives to Amazon. And so if you're selling a product for 1,400 pesos that somebody can buy for 600 in Mercado Libre, that's, I mean, you might sell a few because there are people that don't even look elsewhere and they buy on Amazon. But if you want to launch a brand, grow your brand, and move a decent volume, so you need to be competitive, and the way to do that is to offer FBA locally. But just going back to your original question, if you have a product that works very well in the US, like, you can be confident. Of course, you need to do your market research like everybody, like you would here in the US. But if you have a product that sells well in the US, you can be confident that it will work in Mexico.
Awesome. So that being said, we actually did have someone ask a question for you, Patricio. Listening from Mexico City, so we're talking to someone who's in Mexico, and he's talking about selling. First off, he asked, is there a course that you offer? I'm assuming Algo Más, that brings products from Mexico to sell to bring products to Mexico and sell here. So getting products in source locally and sell locally. And is it possible to do FBA from US to Mexico? So we did touch on a little bit on that.
Yeah,
Do you have
and I
any?
think so. So I think that question it's
The
goes
cross-referenced, yeah.
exactly, and actually that's another big opportunity that we haven't talked about, because if you think about the size of the Latino market here in the U.S., you can imagine that there's products that like are native to these countries in South America that have a big market here in the U.S. So that's a big untapped market opportunity that not many people think about, because you need to be like a Latino, understand the
Right.
products and all that. But that's so that's something that we teach, and we have a partnership with a logistics company that they solve all the import and logistics to bring products here to the US. So yeah, that's something that we do.
Well, that's a fascinating localization conversation that you can have both either in the United States or even in Mexico. Is not just looking at numbers per se. We're going beyond numbers. We're looking at who that avatar is. By definition, who are the people that are buying these products? Like, who are the
Mhm.
male, female, older, younger? What nationality, what religion, even. You start
Mhm.
to get really deep into that avatar. Is that something that you and your team are looking more into, and really being specific at, hey, we're going to win this population, and just be really good at it instead of maybe just a keyword? Or is there a happy medium for both of those
So
conversations to have?
that's definitely something that we've done for years. Just knowing how to recognize certain demographics and certain markets. Well, and in many cases, or in most cases, we're talking about like niche markets, right? And so they are very attractive in the sense that there's a big lacking of offering, right, of those products. And if you can match those markets and those buyers to the products that are lacking in Amazon, then you can build you can build a pretty decent business doing that. So that just going to what you just mentioned, that that includes seasonal offerings, like for example, and talking about religions, right? So you have like Christmas, then you might have Hanukkah. You have all these types of demographics that change regionally from what you would usually find here in the U.S. in a U.S. population to the Latino population, right? The products, customs, all that changes. So that's something that we've done. Being from Mexico, my wife is from Argentina, so we have, and with Algo Más, we have people all over in every country in Latin America. So one thing we've done for years is to try to find those opportunities in the U.S. market, and bring the right offering of products to those demographics.
So with that being said, you touched on a couple different marketplaces. If I'm a seller and I have to choose between Amazon and Mercado Libre, we're talking about two completely different marketplaces.
Mhm.
Is there one that you would maybe try before the other? If I'm new to the marketplace, I'm new to just selling online in Mexico or in South America. Which one do you feel would be like a little bit easier to get into, or even more profitable long term, do you think? Is it going to be Amazon?
No doubt, Amazon by far, for many reasons. First of all, is it's more profitable because the demographic. So Mexico, and I guess maybe it is, or it used to be same here in the U.S., but Amazon is more aspirational in Mexico, right? So you have just think about demographics. You have a higher demographic with larger buying power in on Amazon Mexico. So that just makes it just gives you better opportunities to bring certain types of product, and even sell for a higher price. But having said that, uh, I think for and the nature of the marketplace, for people that don't know, Mercado Libre is like an eBay, right? So it's a different animal. So being on Amazon is a platform that will allow you to position a brand, position a product, and then you can grow from there. And we're in retail, physical retail in Mexico as well. So what we're starting to see, which is the same thing that happened here years ago, is that retail buyers are starting to look at Amazon first to find products, find other brands, right? Find the upcoming small brands to have them on their shelves. So definitely Amazon is the place that you want to be. In certain products or certain categories, there might be more volume in Mercado Libre, um, but it's Amazon is growing fast, and I think it's inevitable that Amazon will become the largest player, just as it happened here. It will
Right.
happen in Mexico. So being right now in Mexico, it's a big opportunity because right now the marketplace is an opportunity, but also it will help you position the product, and then you can sell in different marketplaces. There are a handful of important marketplaces in Mexico, and then you start building from Amazon, and then you grow to the others.
How important is I would say localization to the Mexican customer? For example, just making sure your listings are optimized appropriately, speaking cadences or languages translated, even packaging, the look and the feel of your products in that environment. You mentioned a lot of customers are looking at the United
Mhm.
States and trends, and it might have been 5 years out. Now it's 2 years out. Now it constantly, the customer's eyeball is constantly looking all over the place. What is it that is attracting the eyeball? Is it the same that the customer in the United States is, or do you need to maybe like make some tweaks here and there to really
Yeah,
stand out?
definitely. I'll say that the main difference between the American consumer and Mexican and in general Latin American is that uh, like this just the whole thing of buying stuff online and this whole like internet everywhere has been in Mexico and Latin America has been let's say the has been there for less time, right? So more people are like it used to be 10 years ago. Maybe some people are afraid of using their credit cards and buying online, so they'll ask a lot more questions before they buy a product in Mexico and Latin America uh, than they do here. So there's definitely a big component of trust that if you don't have your listings optimized to Mexico in Spanish, with not only translating in Spanish, because Amazon does, if you're doing NARF, Amazon translates, has a automatic translation, or you might hire go to Fiverr and hire a Spanish translator. But it matters if the translator is from Venezuela, from Spain, from Colombia, from Argentina. The Spanish language changes uh, from country to country. So it's important to have a native, local, uh, Mexican-looking and sounding listing to build that trust. And same thing as I know when you go into Amazon, you can tell the difference from a Chinese seller, right? Just by looking at their listing and reading a few words, like that's a Chinese seller as opposed to a US seller. Just there's right in language or certain differences. So same thing happens for us reading US listings in Mexico, even though they're in Spanish. They're not the same. So it's very important and I'd say the main factor is trust. So you want to have a well optimized listing to be able to compete.
Well, trust brings up an interesting word. I think loyalty is what a lot of people and brands are starting to trying to build. How loyal is a customer in Mexico? Is it their lifetime customers if you do right by them, or what's kind of the trust factor there? Is it once you've earned their trust, they will be loyal to brands, or is it price point? What's the most important thing to an avatar or a customer down there?
So that's an interesting point, and this is something that we've been seeing more and more, just by the fact that there's less options, really. There's that than they are here, right? So right now it's very hard if you have your private label and you're trying to launch a brand. It's really hard to build that trust because the consumer has like so many options, and definitely uh, Amazon opened up those opportunities for sellers in or for products in Mexico as well. But there's just less options in Mexico, so it's easier. So it's, let's say, spending the same amount of money and doing the same amount of work that you're doing in the US is going to generate results so much faster in Mexico, just because if you're able to establish that trust initially, buyers will be more loyal to a brand just by the fact that there's less options. And then people trust US brands and US products, right? So if depending on the product, right, if it's something very local, right, if you're buying your tacos or your salsa from, you want them to be from a Mexican company, right? Because that's a very local product. But for all the rest, US brands are regarded probably more just better than Mexican brands. So if you're a US brand and you have you can craft the right message, you can communicate with the Mexican consumers in their language, you'll be able to build that loyalty a lot faster in
Is
Mexico.
there grocery available in Mexico
Yep.
for Amazon? Okay, so is there opportunity? I feel like this is almost the topic that a lot of people kind of glaze over, and it's non-perishable goods or something that's localized, or you yourself can be. For example, I love the story of the barbecue seller. For example, they have their own branded sauce or spices or whatnot, seasonings, and they sell them in the United States during the summer seasons. Obviously, it's a seasonal product, and then they throw them into Amazon Australia because in our winter it's their summer,
Yeah.
so it actually makes sense seasonality. Is there going to be an uptick, do you think, in terms of grocery as it kind of becomes more popular and in that direction? I feel like a lot of people got excited about, or used to, I should say, curbside pickup or delivery of groceries and perishable goods. Is that important to the culture down there, or is that something that's kind of not caught on yet?
I mean, I think especially groceries, and we can talk about different types of products, and even like supplements, right? That sort of product is very big in Mexico. And same thing I talked about. Just U.S. brands, just you automatically trust a U.S. brand with a product like a food product or a supplement product immediately. So, and actually we get a lot of calls from especially supplement sellers, because I think if you have a good product in the US, and you've found your consumer here in the US, it's easy to translate to Mexico. The problem there, if you're manufacturing, let's say if you're manufacturing in the US, to get into the US, into the Mexican marketplace, the barrier of entry is very high, because you need to just the local FDA, let's say the Mexican FDA, just the requirements are are really tough, and it takes a long time. So you can take anywhere from 9 months to 18 months to get a supplement approved, for example. And it can take you, I don't know, 10, 12,000 bucks to get the certificate, and you're gonna need lab tests. And so of course there's a lot of cons in this type of product. But if you so but on the other hand, that creates a big opportunity, but because not a lot of people are entering into that market, because it's not easy. So if you know how to deal with those permits and that process, then you have big opportunity. And then with groceries, I well, same thing that happened here. Mexico is it's actually still it's closing down. It's closing down again, businesses, and they're going back to having to be inside. So that's still going to be a market that grows, and it's going to be a big opportunity. I think this year and next year are still going to grow a lot.
Is there a category that people should either avoid, and then also on the flip side, is there a category that's almost too easy to get into? I would say like more easy to get into in Mexico than it would be into the United States.
So I'm gonna say electronics is something that we've stayed away in Mexico, just because there's a lot of competition from like Chinese sellers, cheaper. So in certain types of products, and in those products, price matters. Price matters more than it does here in the U.S. Right? Just because people don't have as much money to spend than people here, and credit to access, and access to credit and all that. So there are certain types of products where we've tried to stay away because of the returns and all this in Mexico. The return rate seems to be higher in Mexico than it is here in the U.S. And competition is tough in certain products. One of the things that happened is in Amazon Mexico is when Amazon did their big push to bring Chinese sellers. Uh, uh, there weren't many U.S. sellers entering the Mexican marketplace, so it got flooded by Chinese sellers. So most of the top uh, sellers in Mexico are Chinese, and but to me that's not something I worry about, because I think the Chinese will. It's very hard to compete with in the products that they're very good at, and they have lower prices than everybody, and they're bringing directly from China. But I think where I see the opportunity in Mexico is going in the completely opposite direction, just offering better quality products, higher priced, manufactured locally. And I think that Mexico, it's a 130 million people market. Amazon Mexico is gonna be it's gonna it's now, I think it's big, but it's gonna grow. It grows every month. So I think the opportunity is not in trying to compete with cheap products, rather offer value and build a brand. Definitely.
I love that, and I agree with you. I think that you look at the opportunity and where the statistic where I thought a lot of growth opportunity is happening is if you look at how many new warehouses are being opened in terms of logistics centers in different marketplaces. For example, in Australia, you saw, gosh, I want to say like 50% or growth year over year in terms of number of warehouses. It's slowed a little bit in the United States, but you're talking about like looking at different marketplace opportunities. If you're selling in the United States and you're looking at the next possible option, I would feel that Mexico would be one of those, like you said, budding um, areas, just because of who they model kind of after. I would say who the economy models after, and just how quickly they kind of are tied to our country of origin. It's almost like
Hmm.
uh, localized by geography instead of just choosing to know what the trends are halfway around the world, right? It's almost
Yeah.
what's popular here, or there's so many different similarities. So with that being said, what about you and the team? Where's kind of the growth that excites you, and then maybe where's kind of the fear on the other hand that kind of keeps you up at night, uh, both working in the United States and working in Mexico as well?
So, and just I want to touch on one thing you said, and I hadn't thought of that. Yeah, actually, so Mexico, Amazon Mexico had two warehouses, two distribution centers, uh, not even a year ago, and today there are six. They just opened the sixth one. So yeah, they're growing at a very fast pace. So, and to answer your question, I think the thing that excites me the most really is as Amazon keeps growing, and as more and more people go, get into the Amazon.com.mx, or buying in Mexico, the I think there's a big hole in Amazon's catalog. There's not many options. So what's starting to happen in Mexico is that a lot of the offer are Chinese products. So like people that don't want cheap products from China are not able to find a lot of products. So many of the buyers from Amazon Mexico are actually buying directly on Amazon.com, and bring the product from here, and they don't care that they're paying more, and they are paying in dollars, and they don't care that they're waiting for longer, because they want better products. So the thing that excites me the most is that I think we have, I don't know, 18 months until people start noticing this, and catching up to the opportunity in Mexico. So almost anything if you have a good product, anything that you launch right now on Amazon, uh, launch a few campaigns, and what the money you're going to be spending in your PPC campaigns in Mexico, it's a lot. It's a fraction of what you do here in the US, and you're going to be spending more and more here in the US. In Mexico, there isn't a lot of competition for keywords. You can bid on the main keywords and still paying cents. So it's, I think the biggest opportunity now is to launch a product, do the right things, and you'll be able to build a brand and get traction and get reviews and get the volume up a lot faster than you will here in the US. And the thing that worries me, really is that to be to move fast enough by the time that people notice Mexico and start bringing all the international competition that we are, that we are very far ahead of everybody else. That's really what worries me: the speed. We cannot launch product fast enough because the opportunity is huge.
Yeah, and this is what it's kind of, people like you in this space is, you look at international opportunity where, although it might not be as big as what other people want it to be right now, you're talking about a year or two out. Now that you said they're catching up, when more adoption and people are buying from .com instead of .mx, but that's because the goods just aren't available on
Mhm.
.mx right now. So it's very fascinating to see the yearning for the goods that are available that could, again, the United States of 300 plus million people out of billions of people in the world, where what the buying power is really shifting around the world as people become more mobile friendly, as Amazon starts to grow in that capacity, and people look at online versus retail in that capacity. So I think it's just a super fascinating demographic and locale and marketplace to sell in if you're trying to grow internationally. It seems almost like one of the easier ones to dive into. Again, Europe, again, UK and Germany would be 2 and 2A, and then you would be looking at just like other budding marketplaces that are starting to really take off. But Mexico always fascinated me in that regard of, they have buying power. They are shopping. Their trends are very similar to the United States. Why not look at that as a potential, either sourcing partner or a marketplace to sell into? So, Patricio, we've talked about, you have, of course, there's a bunch of other things that Algo Más is doing. How can people reach out to you? I know I would talk to you for multiple more hours. For the listener who wants to learn more, or just kind of pick your brain, how do they reach out to you and connect with you and just kind of understand more of the marketplace that we were talking about today?
So you can reach out on LinkedIn. Send me a text in there, or I think we have our a link. We have a website. If you already have a brand that is or successful products here in the U.S. and want to expand into Mexico, we can help you take care of the logistics, the imports, and the localization of the product and the Amazon operation. So we have a form there that you can fill out. If you feel like expanding to Mexico, it's a good option for your brand. Probably the link is going to be somewhere here. And but reach out on LinkedIn, and I'll be happy to talk and help anybody with their questions.
Of course, yeah. In the show notes, if you're listening to this, the link will be there, as well as the comment section. If you're looking in the posts on social media, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, go ahead and click on those just to kind of reach out and start that conversation. I think it's never too early, obviously, to look at international growth. It's good to start now before you might be ready, and then what those opportunities look like in terms of being first to market, or even one of the very few in terms of competition to market. In a marketplace that is yearning for products to be brought to them. So that's is really cool, as always, to pick your brain and listen to you talk and just understand. Do you have any predictions for the rest of this year? You said we might be going on lockdown, or there's like other things happening. Is there something that you're kind of gearing up for and trying to do it right the next, going into Q3, Q4?
Yeah, as in the Mexican marketplace, especially, yeah, as they're going back into lockdown, just e-commerce sales and Amazon sales are gonna go through the roof. Same as here, we're expecting, of course, like biggest Q4 we've had. And this is going to continue throughout next year for sure. So if you're getting ready for Q4 and you're bringing a lot of product, you should consider, I think, sending some product to Mexico. Start selling there, whether you're doing NARF or selling FBA locally. I think it's Q4 just gives you the best opportunity to launch your product in a new market, get some sales fast, get reviews fast. The PPC spending is very cheap right now in Mexico, so like there's no better opportunity than this Q4 to really jumpstart the launch of your brand in Mexico for sure.
All things I like to hear. It's cheap. It's you can get more sales, and it's easier to get into maybe than a different marketplace. So
yeah.
Awesome conversation. Now, friend of the show, Patricio Tellez of Algo Más. Again, check him out on LinkedIn. Thank you so much for hopping on today. Just a wealth of knowledge in terms of a marketplace a lot of people don't talk about. So I appreciate you spending some time today with us and our audience.
Thanks for having me, Ryan.
No problem. Thank you. Again, thank you everyone who hopped on. Again, listen to us talking about sourcing and selling in Mexico. This is Crossover Commerce, my podcast about selling on Amazon, just anything and everything on Amazon and e-commerce in this corner of the internet that I hold so dearly to my heart. People like Patricio coming on to talk about different topics like selling in Mexico. We have a great slate of podcasts coming your way. We had 3 more this week already. All of them are live. So if you are new to this space, go ahead and subscribe to us on all of our social channels on YouTube, LinkedIn, or Facebook, or you can follow me directly on all the same channels, again, as well as Instagram. And this podcast is actually brought to you and presented by PingPong Payments, who actually helps international sellers keep more of their money when they sell in different marketplaces, helping more than 150 million customers, or excuse me, transacting more than $115 million a day for over 1 million customers worldwide, people saving more money to grow into different marketplaces and repatriating their money. Go ahead and check out PingPong Payments today. And again, it's in the link in the description below. But of course, I'm Ryan Cramer, the host of this show. Catch us next time on episode 138, which will be tomorrow on Tuesday, where you can catch me live here on the show. I'm Ryan Cramer again. We'll catch you guys next time. Take care.